Okay, so you're probably going to see this entire outfit in another video. My headband as well as this shirt. I'm filming 2 videos today, maybe a third, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Karen, a lovely subscriber to this channel, suggested a really good video. And this could not be timed better because it is currently my vacation from the Korean Language Institute. So for the next 3 weeks, I am not going to be in class studying Korean. Karen asked ways to maintain the Korean language when you're not studying or in school. What a great question. Truly though, that's a really good question. The first one is kind of funny. It's something that I practice a lot, and it's going to sound a little silly, but whatever. So we all have internal dialogue, and something that I really like to do is I like to try to think in both English and Korean. I know this sounds a little weird, but try to follow me for a minute. I have gotten into the habit of thinking to myself in English and then asking, how would you say that in Korean? And sometimes it becomes so automatic I've actually started to think in Korean. So I want you guys to always be trying to think in Korean. Ask yourself, how do you say this in Korean? How do I say this in Korean? And if you don't know how to say the entire thing in Korean, try to pick some of the words you've just said and try to translate them into Korean. For instance, if you know some of the words that you've just said in English in Korean, remind yourself of what those words are. Or similar grammar points that you've just thought of. Remind yourself, or even try to put yourself in that headspace of if I absolutely 100% had to try and say this in Korean, what could I say that could convey that same feeling or same message? If you forget a word, look it up. In that moment, look it up. Remind yourself of what that is. When you're learning a language, you're going to forget vocab. You're going to forget grammar. When you recognize that you've forgotten a word, look it up immediately. When you feel as though you've forgotten a grammar point, look it up immediately. Don't just, oh, I forgot it. Oh, that's okay. Look it up. Remind yourself of what it is. That's really going to help and reinforce your learning. Now I want to talk about some apps that I use. And the first one really goes in line with what I was just talking about. Papago. Papago is like Google Translate. However, Papago is made here in Korea, I believe. Anyway, it's just a lot better for English to Korean. I feel like Google Translate it can be pretty hit or miss. Papago, though, seems to be pretty consistent. I also really like that they break everything down really easily. I just think that Papago is the way to go if you want to translate things. Even taking pictures, I can take pictures of things that have Korean on them and it'll translate the entire thing. I use Papago. Papago is fantastic. The next thing that you should be doing, regardless of whether you're studying or not, is you need to be talking to people who speak Korean. Talk to native Korean speakers. I know I've talked about this app before in past videos, but I like to use the app Meef. Of course, with any app where you're meeting new people, you're going to find weirdos. However, out of all of the apps that I've used, I feel as though I've had the best experience on Meef, actually meeting people who have a true desire to learn and actively use the language that they're studying. Once you find those great language partners, you're set. The other app that I have been using recently, and I have a love-hate relationship with Duolingo. Oh, it's Duolingo. I like Duolingo because it does just help to reinforce listening and reading and just actively, working within the Korean language. Do I love it? No, I don't love it. But the other thing that I really like about the app is that it does send you notifications. It sends you those little push notifications to remind you, hey, study Korean today, hey, study Korean today. And you can take 5 or 10 minutes just to get your brain working within the language. Duolingo has also taught me some pretty interesting vocab, so it's just a fun little thing to do just to pass a few minutes and just really reinforce some of your Korean learning. The other app that I have used in the past, I'm not using now, but have really enjoyed, if you have the money, is Rosetta Stone. Now, I was gifted it. I had like a downloadable gift of Rosetta Stone Korean, and I really enjoyed it. I think of all programs that I have used to learn Korean, Rosetta Stone and Living Language were two of the absolute best. What I really liked about Living Language was, to people who really like to read and write, they have a great, easy to digest textbook system for learning Korean. It's also pretty affordable. With Rosetta Stone, I really like that you just plug in, you go, and they have you speaking and listening right from the start. It's really easy to just immerse yourself in the language. However, it's a little expensive. But either one, I think, would be great additions to whatever textbook system you're using, whatever course you're doing, with the teacher you might be working with. I think that they're both great systems to just supplement some additional Korean learning. The other app that I really like that's just kind of fun and helps to just make sure I'm remembering basic vocab words, it's Infinite Korean. This was actually suggested to me by my friend Courtney, who downloaded the app when she first began to learn Korean, and she really liked it. It's a fun game that just teaches you Korean vocab through pictures. I love this method because you're not being given an English word and then a Korean word and then making a connection in your mind. You're actually getting a picture as well as the Korean word, so you're not translating in your mind, oh, 돼지고기 means pork. You're actually seeing 돼지고기 and then a picture of like bacon. Bad example, but you know, then you're making that connection. So there's a little less time in your brain to make a correlation of what you're hearing in Korean, what it is in English. You're learning just visually what this word means in Korean. And that, I think, is one of the best ways to learn Korean. Gosh, am I good at explaining things? No. Like I say in all my videos, did you come here for good content? No. And if you did, you're in the wrong place. Next, it's really, really, really great to continue to listen to your K-pop or watch dramas. Put the subtitles on, turn them off from time to time, put the Korean subtitles on. You just want to make sure that you're still surrounding yourself with the language, even if you're not actively listening and trying to digest everything. It's good to just hear so that you're picking up key phrases that you know and you're just listening to the pronunciation. Workbooks and textbooks. If you're someone studying for the TOPIK, it is important that you pick up a TOPIK practice book. I have yet to find one that I really like. I'm still on the hunt, and when I do find one, I will make a video on it. But like I've mentioned in past videos, the book that I really like to use for supplementing my Korean learning is the Korean Grammar in Use system. This is the intermediate version. I'm going to be picking up the advanced one once I finish this one, but this is really fantastic and it's fun. Oh my God, is it so fun. So find a system that works for you, whether it be the Living Language system. I really like that one. Korean Grammar in Use, I think, would be my #1 pick. Or if you find something online. I know that a lot of people really do like the Talk to Me in Korean books. I've read them and I do think that I like them. I just think that you get a little bit more bang for your buck when you pick up the Korean Grammar in Use. Nothing against Talk to Me in Korean. I just think for the cost, you get a lot more with Korean Grammar in Use. And I think that they go a little bit more in depth. So this would be my recommendation. And then the other thing that I think is probably the most important is to make sure that you're giving yourself a break, cutting yourself some slack. Let yourself have a day to relax. Be consistent, but give yourself a day to just relax. You don't want to burn yourself out. That's really important, and that's going to hinder your Korean learning over the long run. Is that what it is? Over the long run, right? And not only that, but if you're not actively studying in a classroom or with a teacher, you're going to forget some Korean. It's fine. It happens to me all the time. You're going to forget grammar, you're going to forget vocabulary. Remind yourself that that's natural. You're learning a language. It's one of the hardest things that you could possibly do. One of the most rewarding, but it's also one of the hardest things that you can do. Let yourself make mistakes. Let yourself forget things. Be kind to yourself and give yourself breaks. That's something I wish that I really did when I first began to study here. I was really brutal to myself, and it really did not help with my Korean learning whatsoever. So just be nice to yourself and give yourself breaks. That's all I got. If you have any other tips for supplementing Korean learning outside of the classroom, let me know. Really, please, because I could definitely use some more. I hope that this video is helpful to you. If you have any video recommendations, questions, comments, concerns, leave them below. Like and subscribe to support the channel, and I will see you guys in court. Bye.